Creedence Clearwater Revival was at the top of the world. Their sound was raw, American, and unforgettable. But behind the stage lights and roaring crowds, something dark was growing. The band that once moved like a single machine was falling apart piece by piece, and at the center of everything was John Fogerty, the voice, the songwriter, the engine. But what pushed one of the greatest American rock bands to crumble? And how did this painful fall force Fogerty to write a song that would become timeless? This is where the story begins. It wasn't just talent that made Fogerty the leader. It was the responsibility he carried alone. Every song, every arrangement, every decision. CCR moved fast because Fogerty pushed, obsessed, and demanded perfection. But that intensity came with a price: resentment. And soon, his own band turned against him. Tom Fogerty wasn't just John's brother. He was his earliest musical partner. But success created a wall between them. Tom wanted more say. John wouldn't share control. Their arguments became explosive. Eventually, Tom said the words no one expected: "I'm done." And the cracks in CCR became impossible to hide. After Tom's exit, the remaining 3 members tried to continue, but the unity was gone. The team spirit that once defined the band disappeared. Meetings turned into shouting matches. Recording sessions felt cold. John's frustration turned into bitterness, and bitterness turned into silence. In a sudden twist, Stu Cook and Doug Clifford confronted John. They wanted songwriting power. They wanted a voice. Fogerty refused. That moment was the beginning of the end. For the first time, John Fogerty wasn't the leader. He was the outsider inside his own band. Mardi Gras was meant to be a fresh start. Instead, it became the album that broke CCR forever. Fogerty stepped back and let the other members contribute songs. Something they had demanded. The critics called the record a disaster. Fans were confused. CCR ended almost overnight. Fogerty walked away shattered. The world expected Fogerty to rise again immediately. But he didn't. He couldn't. The breakup felt like a personal failure. He lost his band, he lost his brother, and worst of all, he lost trust in himself. For years, Fogerty stayed quiet. No new hits, no powerful voice, just silence and regret. Some wounds heal slowly, others turn into fire. Fogerty's pain slowly transformed into something sharp and bright. He felt betrayed, abandoned, and misunderstood. But in that anger, a melody formed. Then words, then a song. Fogerty remembered baseball fields, childhood dreams, and the feeling of wanting a second chance. That emotion became Centerfield. It was the sound of someone ready to return, not for the world, but for himself. The fall of CCR pushed Fogerty to write a comeback anthem disguised as a rock classic. When Fogerty wrote Centerfield, he wasn't just writing a tune. He was repairing everything CCR had broken inside him. Every chord was a memory. Every lyric was a step forward. The song didn't just revive his career, it revived John Fogerty. Today, Centerfield is more than a hit. It's an American anthem. It plays at every baseball stadium. Kids sing it. Grandparents remember it. But the heart of the story lies in its origin, a broken man finding his voice again. If CCR had not fallen apart, this timeless classic might never have been born. From destruction came rebirth. From heartbreak came history. Even as Centerfield began to take shape, Fogerty still felt the ghosts of CCR following him. Every interview, every fan message, every article. People wanted to talk about the band that broke him. And no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape the memories. He remembered nights when he couldn't sleep because of arguments with Tom. Days when Stu and Doug questioned his every creative choice. Moments when he wondered if he was the villain in his own story. Fogerty carried guilt, anger, and disappointment like heavy stones in his pocket. But something inside him changed during the writing of his new album. Instead of running from those feelings, he poured them into the music. Fogerty realized something powerful. He didn't have to erase the past. He just had to rise above it. And for the first time in years, he could see a future where music didn't hurt. It healed. The world had known Fogerty as the CCR guy for too long. Even his record label pushed him to recreate old magic. But Fogerty refused to become a copy of his past. Centerfield wasn't about swamp rock or the sound of the 60s. It was about freedom, a new sound, a new era, a new John Fogerty. He reinvented himself in the studio. He pushed his voice in new directions. He played with rhythm, melody, and storytelling like he never had before. Fogerty wasn't trying to be CCR. He was finally trying to be himself. This chapter of his life wasn't written for fans, critics, or nostalgia. It was written for the little boy who used to stand in a baseball field, wishing for one chance to shine. And now, he was giving himself that chance. Fogerty's return didn't happen overnight. The music industry had changed. Younger artists filled the airwaves. Some critics wondered if Fogerty's time had passed, but Fogerty didn't care. For the first time in years, he felt fearless. He trusted his instincts. Again. He trusted his voice. When Centerfield was finally played for producers, the energy in the room changed. People felt the power instantly. The hope, the bounce, the joy. Fogerty had written something bigger than a hit. He had written a comeback powered by courage. And even before the world heard it, Fogerty knew one thing for sure. He was back. When Centerfield hit the radio, something magical happened. People who had grown up with CCR felt young again. New listeners heard a fresh voice full of life. Children sang along without knowing who John Fogerty was. Suddenly, Fogerty wasn't a man running from his past. He was a man redefining his future. The album went platinum. Stadiums blasted the song before games. Baseball fans held up homemade signs quoting the lyrics. Fogerty's comeback wasn't quiet. It was loud, joyful, and undeniable. The same world that watched CCR fall now watched Fogerty rise on his own terms. And this time, he stood taller than ever. Success didn't erase everything. Fogerty still thought about CCR. He still felt the loss of his brother Tom. He still remembered the nights when friendship turned into rivalry. But now, with Centerfield echoing across America, Fogerty could finally breathe. He didn't need CCR to validate him. He didn't need to prove anything. He had already done the impossible. He rebuilt his life, his career, and his identity from the ashes of heartbreak. Fogerty once said that writing Centerfield felt like stepping out into the sun after years of darkness. And that's what this chapter became, the moment he accepted everything, forgave what he could, and let the rest go. His classic wasn't just a song, it was closure, it was rebirth, it was freedom,